If you ever wondered what dysfunction looks like, you know where you can look. You can look two places in the dictionary, or or I got a better life-size example for you. Look at the Smiths. Which Smiths? Will and Jada. I mean, they're not really a couple anymore. Not that they really were to begin with. But when you look at that, I think you'll understand what the word dysfunction actually means. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Are you tired of being turned down for loans, credit cards, or mortgages because of bad credit? Say goodbye to financial barriers and hello to opportunity with mycreditking.com. We can help you get those loans and credit cards you need today. Take control of your financial future with mycreditking.com. Visit us online to learn more and start your journey to a brighter tomorrow.
Let's have a discussion, shall we? There's one person spilling beans, tea, and every other format of types of informational stuff. And you know who that is? Jaguar, Wright. She has been on a rampage spending all kinds of information out to people, telling them about especially the Smiths. Now, in the latest iteration of her bean spilling, she said something that was pretty dang crazy. She said that Jada is such a horrible mother that she allowed Will to violate Jaden. Her words. And by violate, I mean sexually violate his son.
Will Smith, Jaden, you Nelson, you know but like too afraid to find a real man in real love, so you marry a for a Birkin bag and then turn your head while he's getting a bunch of kids.
Now, that would be hard to believe had we not had some examples of it being possible in the public light. We've seen multiple videos of Will not being able to control himself around his son, either by the groping or in some cases to the extreme of kissing him on the mouth. Now, does that mean that Will has had some sort of latent, we figured the gay tendencies, but more so pedo tendencies? Could it be that that's what he was and is naturally to himself right now? I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying walk like a duck, talk like a duck might be a duck, and people want you to believe that it's a cat. And no, it could be a duck. And in this particular situation, we look at their life, and we're just going to break some things apart to see how possible what Jaguar's saying is. Okay, so let's look at their life real quick. Dysfunction started when Will was younger. He was married, didn't really, pay much attention to his wife, ended up hooking up with Jada. He has a son with his first wife, by the way. And now he has this relationship with Jada. In the lifetime that he's had with Jada, we've seen dysfunction at its epic proportions. Now, you look at people like August, right? Who got his blessings, by the way, from Will to sleep with his wife. And they call it an arrangement or whatever. An entanglement, that's the word, an entanglement. And so now you have this two broken people. For whatever reason, Jada got broken, she got broken. Let's say that it was because Tupac died. I don't really know because everybody knows Tupac wasn't straight. But besides that, let's just say that she was so heartbroken by Tupac that her entire life fell to pieces, and the only person that she could fall in love with, or at least hook up with, was Will, because he was interested. So now you have two broken people who did nothing to mend each other or themselves, and they continue dysfunction and bring kids into the world with dysfunction. Now, mind you, Jaguar said that it was Bilal that told her this.
Bilal told me, Jada, he told me that you knew Will was your child.
The same Bilal that told you that Will was being railed by some other dude and enjoying it.
Will was bent over on the couch and Dwayne was standing up, killing him. Murder. It was murder in there. And I finally said, oh shit. And they turned around and said, close the door.
Now, we have no reason to believe that Bilal is lying or telling the truth. It's just what he said. So we have two dysfunctional beings connected. They have dysfunctional children, and they continue in that dysfunction by treating the children a certain way, more so on the father's side, physically, and on the mother's side, emotionally. Because you have to understand that his mom, Jaden's mom, saw his mother sleep with his friend, knowing she was married. Meanwhile, he is being violated by his father. If we are saying that what Jaguar is saying is true, I don't think we'll ever get the truth out of it from at least the Smiths. Now, we can hear from people who have been around them, and your decision is to decide whether or not you believe. But here's what we can do. We can do some little bit of math. 1 + 1 kind of thing. So here's the 1 + 1. If I were to look at the way Will behaves in the public light with his child, I can believe Jaguar's story. 100% I can believe that story. I can not only believe it, but when I look at how Jaden has turned out, he seems to be carrying all of the signs of a victim. Now, you can say that he's been traumatized because they didn't parent, or you can say he was traumatized because of the type of parenting he went through. In my world and my experience, from when I'm looking at people and the victims of how they turn out as adults, if they've gone through any sort of trauma as a child, you can witness it in the way they behave and interact with people when they become bigger. Now, if you look at Jaden's life, you will see some very crazy characteristics pop up. He's unsure of himself, very insecure, and he has to do all these antics in order to feel accepted, even to the point where he has to walk up behind someone like Justin Bieber. But aside from that, he's a confused individual. One does not just get that way overnight. That has immense signs of trauma, whether that be from his mother or a direct result of Will touching him inappropriately. Only time can tell that. But I can tell you this. The signs are there more that it was Will's fault rather than Jada's fault. Why? Because everything that Jaden is doing now is a direct reflection of someone who has been touched physically. Now, if Jaguar is right, what does that mean for, well, the legal side of things? Well, the only person that can file any charges really is Jaden. I don't know that he will. I don't know that he'll say anything. Here's what he can risk saying something. He risks losing his dad, even if it was a traumatic bond that they had. And he also risks looking like the snitch. Now, remember, in the culture that he exists in, snitches get stitches, right? That's what they say. So you can't be talking and ratting out. You don't want to be seen as Jaguar Wright, though. So he could be in a very difficult position of having to either go against. Now, he already went against his mom by ratting her out with August. So that's one thing. So he obviously has less respect for his mother than he does for his father. And it could be that because of the touching, he links that particular activity with love. And if that's the case, then Will did a way more damage than we can even possibly think to that boy. The daughter, on the other hand, whole other issue. Willow, I don't even know what to make of her, because she's the only one that has not been spoken much about, but she's also one that's been distancing herself from both of them. But this topic is more so about what and whether or not Jaguar Wright was truthful in her statements that, Will was inappropriate with his son. All we can do is add 2 and 2, 1 and 1 together. And from what we can see, Jaguar might be 100% correct. Might be. Because she's not just speaking out of her own opinion. We can literally look back, because the internet's forever, on all kinds of videos that would lead us to believe that no normal male would treat their son the way that Will would treat his son in public light. It just wouldn't happen. So one of two things. He's either really comfortable with his kid and in his sexuality and as a man, I guess, or he didn't care at all of who thought what and could mask it so well because it's Hollywood. And Jaden's not going to say anything. Who's going to think that about Will? He made sure that he crafted one of the most clean-cut rappers out there. He made sure he coiffed that particular persona really well. I remember growing up thinking Will Smith was the only rapper that never cussed in his songs. That's all you ever heard. He didn't make any diss tracks. He was just this guy that stood alone. You could play his songs at church if you wanted to because there was nothing wrong with it. That's the kind of personality that he crafted for the world. Now, what he really was behind closed doors kind of only recently started to crack. You start seeing these little things and a glimpse into who he actually is. Now, if Jaguar is right, this is some crazy bit of information that he is actually a pedo. Now, if he could do it to his son, would that restrict him from doing it with anybody else in Hollywood that was a child? That's the bigger question. He's been on the set with quite a few. So if that's the case, that he is capable of it, could it also mean that he's also gone through with it? Now, if you're a victim, please tell. But if you're shy or afraid, I can understand why. Because he's also linked to some very powerful people. And it could end up really bad. So I can see people being between a rock and a hard place. At the end of the day, the only person touting this story so far is Miss Jaguar Wright, through the knowledge that she got from Bilal. So you have to decide for yourself, and we'll leave this in your court. Is Will Smith that kind of person that Jaguar says he is? Did he touch his son inappropriately? And if he did touch his son inappropriately, are there any other victims that we are going to end up hearing about? And does this actually destroy his entire legacy that he has spent his time crafting as one of the most clean-cut, well-behaved rappers in history?